If you're looking for a fairly simple camera, but one that's fun to use, take a look at the Pentacon Electra. Obviously, being a Pentacon, this was produced in East Germany. I believe it was probably late 1960s, perhaps running into the 1970s. Let's take this camera out of the case. Flip that, and there's 2 snaps in the back, and then the camera simply slides out. Pretty simple. This camera is, as I mentioned, has a lot of plastic. I think the only thing it's missing is some fake wood grain that probably would have fit well within the era in which it was produced. It's a fairly simple camera. It's not a rangefinder camera. It's really what you would call a scale focus or zone focus camera, which means you guess on the focus. A little electric eye for the meter and your viewfinder. So it's really just a simple viewfinder camera. Back here is what you use to advance the film, and if you notice the arrow, instead of advancing left to right, you advance right to left. Shutter release is right on the front. And on the bottom is the battery chamber, which uses well, can't see it, but it uses 2 AA batteries. Very simple. The batteries power the meter, and they also power probably provide synchronization for the flash, although you don't need battery power for the flash. Okay, so this has a very simple lens. This is a dummy plan lens, which would make it not a Gertz, but a meyer-optik. Yes, this would be a Meyer lens. I'm not sure what the makeup of the dummy plan is. I don't know if it's a doublet or a 3-element lens, but I can tell you it's very simple. It's a coated lens, though. You can see the purplish reflection. As I mentioned, this is scale focus. So here's your aperture lever. And then up here, there's no actual indications, but you go by whatever it happens to be. I think this means it's wide open. Is that true? No, that means it's sunny, for sunny conditions. And this is wide open. So you're going to be doing a bit of guesswork, although it should control the exposure, the 2 AA batteries. And here you really guess on your focus. This is in meters, and I believe there's one in feet. It's in meters and feet, which you can see right here. So one of the questions I got about this camera is, how do you load this with film? The only way you can shoot film is if you get these Agfa rapid canisters. The Agfa use these with many of their Carrot cameras, and you preload the film. And so how that works is you these days you have to use a changing bag. So you get a length of film, probably 14 inches I think is a standard length. And you literally push it into this canister, but don't push it all the way in, because then you don't have a way to retrieve it aside from opening the canister. There's a little felt edge to block the light, so you just push it in, perhaps leave out maybe ½ an inch to an inch. Then you take that film, then you pull out the leader, pull it out long enough to insert into this canister. And so you see these are really identical canisters. They look different because, they're made in different eras, but you can really see how the same they are. So this will be your where your feed spool, and this will be your empty spool, your take up. As I mentioned before, this goes right to left. So you take your film, you push it in here. Once it's started, close the back, wind to your next one. I don't know if you have to do 2 blanks, maybe just 1 blank. Then you're ready to shoot. Here's your viewfinder. point and you shoot, although you do want to make a guess on your distance. I guess this means, I'm not even sure what this means, what these little symbols are. Mountains? I don't know what the 3 A's mean. And I guess this is a person if you're going to take a portrait. The rest of the camera is plastic, has this little metal aluminum surround, and that's pretty much all there is to this camera. Oh, there's two settings. One is this fixes the shutter speed, I believe, at like probably your flash shutter speeds typically with these cameras was either 1/25th or 1/30th. And then this, of course, sets you up for automatic exposure, which is where you'll be most of the time. You can use color or black and white film. I think I use mostly color film. I don't really know what I used. You can shoot a maximum of 12 exposures on this. And let me reorient this so we'll get some light through on here. There's your frame counter. And this is a countdown frame counter. So every time you wind the film, it decreases by 1. So that way you always know how many photos that you have left. This probably is not your most convenient film camera, but it certainly was fun to use, and I enjoyed my time with it. And that is the Pentacon Electra.